Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my booktube channel. Welcome to Bookmas Day 14. Today's video is all about the books I wish I read this year, and I previously did a video, I think it was Bookmas Day 7, where I talked about the 2021 releases I still need to read, so none of those books are on this list. I wanted to make sure it wasn't repetitive, but make sure you go check that video out if you'd like to hear about those. So these are all the books that I've owned for a good chunk of time, at least for a few months now, that I really wanted to get to this year, but for some reason did not end up picking them up. And I'm really excited to go through this list, so let's get started. So the first book I wish I read was Lovin Olives by Jenna Evans Welch, and I have previously read Lovin Gelato and Lovin Luck and absolutely fell in love with them. These are all wanderlustful reads, so Lovin Gelato takes place in Italy, Lovin Luck takes place in Ireland, and Lovin Olives takes place in Greece. And I literally waited for this book to come out for so long. It was one of my anticipated releases, and then it came out, but I didn't want to buy a copy because it came out in hardcover, and all the other books I own are paperback. So I waited for the paperback copy. Obviously, I own it now, and I still haven't read it, so I don't really know what excuse I'm going to come up with now. But I really want to read this. It's also a lot thicker than the other two, so that's really cool. I feel like that just means everything is a little more fleshed out, and I don't know, it just sounds so good, so I don't know why I haven't gotten to it. If you've read any of the books on this list and you love them, please comment down below why I should read them, because I need like a little extra push, you know? The next book on this list is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and this sounds so emotional and so cute. I've heard amazing things about it from two of my favorite booktubers, Steph and Larissa. They both gave this book 5 stars. They rave about it, and that's why I bought it in the first place, but I'm just hesitant to read it for some reason. I think because I'm just not ready for an emotional read right now. But when I'm ready for a good cry, I feel like I'll read this. I don't know why. I don't know if it's actually sad, but it just feels like it's going to be, so I feel like I need to be in the right mindset to read it. I really should read this because it is dual perspective. I love dual perspective romances, and also on the back it says one of the top 100 romance novels of all time on Goodreads. So clearly I need to finally pick this one up, and it sounds so good. It's about this girl who moves to a new town, and she ends up trespassing on Archer's property, and he does not communicate with anybody, but when they meet, I think they end up becoming friends. I think they connect and really become there for each other, even though everybody in town is telling her to stay away from him and that he's not a good person to be around and to like steer clear of him. And she basically says that she doesn't care and wants to hang out with him anyway. That's all I know about it. I feel like it's probably a lot deeper than that, but I feel like this is going to be such an emotional journey. I really need to start it. I'm kind of sad I didn't read it this year. I need to read this soon. Literally picking this up and like finally having it off my shelf for the first time since I bought it makes me want to start it immediately. After that, we have Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis, and the reason I ended up getting this book is because, as you guys know, I'm obsessed with the Caraval trilogy by Stephanie Garber. It's one of my favorite series of all time, if not my favorite series of all time, and anytime I go on TikTok and look up book recommendations, this is the one book that's recommended to people who love that trilogy, and I guess it gives off very similar vibes, so I got this book, but I haven't read it yet because I'm really nervous. I want to love this as much as the Caraval trilogy, but I think because I have such high expectations, I'm worried I'm going to be disappointed. So I'm kind of scared to read this one, but I really, really do want to read it. So I'm a little sad that I haven't read it this year. It just seems so magical and captivating, and I think there's a romance in here too, I'm not sure. But like the cover is stunning. I don't know what's wrong with me. Up next, I have Somewhere Between Bitter and Sweet by Laken Zaykemp, and this feels like a food-centric romance. I think that our main character Penelope works at her father's restaurant, and she's always wanted to open up her own type of restaurant next door, but that's not really in the plans that her parents have for her. But she goes to work at her parents' place the one day, and she meets the new person that just got hired, and they hit it off. So the love interest, his name is Xander, and this is basically like his second chance. He's been looking for a place to call home ever since he was little, and this restaurant becomes it for him. But all of a sudden, when the restaurant and Xander's immigration status are threatened, he will do whatever it takes to save it. I really should read this because in here it says, in this book, Laken Zakamp explores identity, found families, and the power of food, all nestled within a courageous and intensely loyal community. And this sounds great. There's food in it. It sounds like a really important conversation on immigration, also about a different culture that I'm used to not reading about, or a different culture that I'm used to reading about. That's what I was trying to say. And also we get like a really sweet romance that's like really meaningful. I really was looking forward to this, and then I bought it right after it came out and still haven't touched it. I don't know why I do that. Does anybody else do that? This next one is a really big book, and that is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. It's literally hard for me to hold because it's so thick, but I read the first 2 books in this series, and I really enjoyed them, especially Akamath, and I don't know why I didn't continue the series. Maybe because I didn't want to fly through it too fast. I'm not sure. Also, this book is intimidating. Like, this is thick, okay? So maybe that's why. But I really wish I would have gotten to this. I feel like it's been so long since I read Akamath that I would have to reread it before going to this one, which I'm not going to complain because I actually annotated that one. I have so many tabs in there for scenes I want to revisit, so it should be pretty fun to reread it, but I wish I read this close enough to that I did not have to reread that prior, because now it's just going to be even more of a little task to start. Also, I don't think I was ready to read this book because of the cliffhanger we had in Akamath. I was not ready to see certain characters. I wasn't ready for this, but maybe in 2022, maybe it'll be my year. I don't know, we'll see. The next one on this list is Fable by Adrienne Young, and I've never read an Adrienne Young book, but this book gives me Daughter of the Pirate King vibes by Trisha Levenseller. And that is one of my favorite duologies that I've ever read. I love the banter, the romance, the action, all the piratey vibes, and I definitely get that exact same feeling when I look at this book. So I really wanted to read this. I think the reason I hadn't read it was because I didn't buy Fable or Namesake until I think November. So I've only had them for like a month or two. I can't remember exactly when I bought it. But I'm just going to give myself the benefit of the doubt and say that's why I haven't read it yet. But I definitely want to read this. It feels very summery though, so maybe I'll try to save it for the summer, or maybe I'll cave and read it a little early. Either way, I really, really, really want to read this. Like, look how cool. I love piratey books, so I need to pick that one up. After that, we have The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. And the thing with this one is that I did actually start it. I passed the bookmark. I got 80 pages in, and I really don't know what happened. I don't know how I could get 80 pages in and not keep reading. I remember enjoying it, so I don't know what happened to me, but I ended up putting this down. I think I might have been reading too many books at once and I couldn't keep them all straight, so for some reason this is the one I chose to set down. But I want to read this. I loved the first 80 pages. I really need to keep this one going, and I have you can't really see it, but I have the other book in this duology as well, so I really need to get on it. I was also hoping to do a reading vlog, but I'm not sure if I will do that. I think I just really need to dive in and get back into this world, but I really wish I read this one this year. I feel like everybody was talking about it, and it would have been really cool to read it along with all of the hype. After that, I have Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is book 2 in the Red Queen series, and it's been a long time since I read Red Queen. like way too long. So I think that's the main reason why I haven't picked this one up. And I loved Red Queen. It was one of the first fantasies that I really fell in love with. It was one of the first ones I read. I really dove into the world. I had a great time. I felt very passionately about a bunch of different characters, whether I loved them or hated them. And there were so many cliffhangers at the end of that book, and I just didn't have this one for a while after reading that. And I think that was my problem, because now it's been so long that I would have to reread Red Queen before going into Glass Sword, and I just haven't really had the motivation for that. But I really do want to read this one day because of how much I enjoyed Red Queen. I think I'm also a little hesitant though, because I've heard some mixed reviews for this. Some people say that this did not do the first book justice and this was not good. So maybe that's also why I've subconsciously put it off. The next book on this list is on here for a completely different reason than all the other books, and that is The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the 4th book in the Raven Cycle series, and this is on this list only for the fact that I just really want to get this series over with. I have had a roller coaster of a journey with these books. I didn't really like the Raven Boys as much as I wanted to, or as much as everybody else seemed to, and so I wasn't really sure how I felt, but by that point I had already purchased the rest of the books in the series, so I was already locked in. And then I read The Dream Thieves, loved The Dream Thieves. I really connected to the characters. I felt like I understood the world a lot better, until I moved on to Blue Lily, Lily Blue, where I became really confused again. There's just so much world building, but like, I don't feel like I ever fully understood it, and I really wish there was like a glossary in the back so that when I saw terms from the world building that I didn't understand, I could flip to it and understand. Also a character guide. There's so many characters in this series, and they all get mixed together in my brain because most of them are all women that I mix up. And the 3rd book was just very confusing and kind of a letdown for me, so I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one. Maybe this will be like book 2 and I will love it the whole way through. I'm really hoping that's what happens. But I'm committed to this series. I've read 3 out of 4 books. I really wish I read this one just so I could say that I completed this series. And last but not least, the last book I wish I read in 2021 is 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. This book was part of my birthday book haul in August, and I got it solely for the reason that Steph always talks about it on her channel. She's one of my favorite booktubers. I trust her judgment so much, and so I went out and I bought this book. But for some reason I haven't picked it up yet, and I feel like most people I've heard that have read this really enjoyed it. So I really want to read it. It sounds so cute. I think I'm just worried because I feel like I've heard people say it feels kind of juvenile. I don't know if that's the right word, but I think the characters feel a little bit younger than they are. So that makes me a little hesitant, and I think that's why I haven't picked it up. But like I said, I trust Steph's opinion so much that I really wish I read this year. I was so excited about this, and I think sometimes I just put books on my shelf and I forget that they're there. I don't know how you guys organize your books. I know some people have a completely different section of their shelf, or a completely different shelf even, where they keep their physical TBR and all the books that they haven't read. And I don't do that. I end up mixing all my books together. So I've read some of these I haven't read, and I end up mixing them together. And I feel like that might be a problem because I have books like this and Archer's Voice that end up on the shelf, and then I kind of forget that I have them. So I think I need to figure out a way to have my TBR be like in more of a visual setting instead of just up in my brain. Maybe I'll use a TBR jar. I'm not sure, but I need to do something to make sure I don't forget about books like this anymore, because then maybe I would not have to make videos of all the books I wish I read, because I would remember to read them. If you have any ideas, please let me know down below. I'd love to know how you sort your books, organize them, how you keep your TBR separate, or remember which books you read. I'm always interested to hear how other people do it. But if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I would really love it if you could also click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.